this is the Vero board you need. It's 10 across, 10 holes across, and 15 holes up. And so what you need to do, you need to make drill holes on there. So the red dots that are on the diagram are drill holes, and you need to make the drill holes on this side. But firstly, you need to mark where the drill holes are going to be on the non-copper side of the Vero board. So that is like that. And what I usually do is I get a piece of wire and I'll poke it through the hole. I can't do this with holding the camera, but I poke it through the hole and then I see where I've got to make the drill hole, and then you just get a drill bit, a small drill bit I'll add, which I'll show in a minute, and you just give it a few turns and break the line. So basically what you want to do is just break the line where it indicates on the diagram, so that there's no connection across that line, so there's split, if you know what I mean. Then once I've done that, you put in some jumper leads, which I use bare wire for. 0.7mm tin wire. You need a pair of pliers for that. I'll show you the tools that you need, but you'll need a pair of pliers to cut this, and then again put those in the spots indicated on the diagram. Then you'll need, when you put your operational amplifiers in, or power amplifiers, whatever you call them, you'll need these things so you don't burn them out when you solder them. Then you've got all your capacitors, the diode. I'm using a 68k resistor and a 1 meg resistor. There's also a smaller resistor for the LED, because there's an LED built into this circuit, which I think is really helpful. And then there's also the 4.1 nanofarad resistor. So all these parts were used in the breadboard that I did. I'm going to use these again. Volume pot is a 100k A pot, and there's a gain pot as well, but I haven't got one. It's a CM 1 meg pot, but I don't have that. But you can build it without the gain pot, but then you can also put the gain pot in at the end as well, because it just goes here. You can add that on at any time, as long as you've not boxed it up. So I'm going to put this all together and show you working. So as I was saying before, mark out the drill holes, poke a little wire through, turn it over, get a drill bit. I've got a 2.5mm drill bit here. With your hand, point out the hole and just slowly turn like that, and just break that track. I've done them all and shown you an example of how to do it. So you just break that copper track, so it's exactly how it shows on the diagram. Okay, and then you're ready to put your jumper leads in. And for this, get a piece of copper wire. I'm going to show one, because I don't want this video to go on for too long. You'll bend one bit, stick it in the desired hole. It goes down to there. Bend it where it's got an end, pull it out, snip it, turn it around, and it kind of resembles a little bit like a staple. And then you can stick it back in, just push it in, and the legs will come out the other side, and you're going to solder there and there. And then you've got your first jumper track in there. So we go, and you can just pull that tight with pliers. Now, what I find is an absolute must when you're doing this. So there's one in, so I'm going to do the rest of them. Absolute must is these needle nose pliers. You got to have a pair of them. You can't do this without them. I've tried and I've failed. You will fail more if you don't have the right tools. You'll need some of these wire clippers as well. If you don't have them, you'll fail. You also need a pair of wire strippers as well, because you'll be stripping wire when you get to the wire stage, when you're putting your wires in that goes to the potentiometers and to the positive and negative. You're going to need wire strippers. If you don't have them, you'll fail. Because I've tried and I've failed many a time because I've had the wrong tools. If you don't have the right tools for the job, it's not going to work. So, and also I have solder wire. I like to have just this. Basically, I pull it through the hole and I hold onto that, and I've got an endless supply of solder wire, so while I'm soldering it's just always there on a spool. So I just hold it like that, and it's just easier to hold something small like this whilst you're soldering. I've tried taking little pieces off, but then you end up, it goes small and you burn your fingers and all the rest of it, and it just doesn't work. So you're always best to have a good spool of solder on hand at all times. The other thing is blue tack, would you believe? Blue tack's great for, you put that there, say you got your jumper cable there that you want to solder, flip it over, and that's not going to go anywhere, and it's going to be nice and tight whilst you solder. So then you're soldering like that. So there we go. I'm going to put all these jumper cables in. There is on this one, there is a double jump, which is basically where two jumper cables meet, and they just share the same hole. But basically, I just I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so here are all the jumper bare wires. There is 10 of them. Just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, there's 10 of them. They look like little staples. They go into there. You're going to solder them in. Now, the one that's a question, everybody asks this question all the time, is that there's a double jumper, and that's the one with the green dot in it. So basically, what I do is I do the normal one, the longest one first, and then where it's a double jumper, it basically means it shares a hole. So I'll do like half of one, and then I'll solder that bit to the top of that bit, so it looks like that when it's in there. That way I don't have to stuff two wires in one hole or drill a hole bigger or something stupid like that. It just, you know, it all conducts together. So as long as it's all touching and everything, it works. I've tested it, it works. I know people are going to look at this video and they're going to comment and they're going to say, oh, do it like this or do it like this. This is the way I do it. It works. So, you know, I just have fun doing this, and that's about it. I don't take it too seriously. I'm not saving anyone's life here by doing this. I'm just doing it for myself. I don't sell these pedals. I literally just do it for my own pleasure and to save my boredom during lockdown. Okay, so we're going to carry on, and we're going to put these into there, and then we're going to put the components into there, and then we're going to fire it up. Alright, so all 10 jumper links are in now, and like I said about that double jumper, you can just see there I've got a little blob of solder on top, and that's the one where they meet on this one. Underneath you've got all the soldering done. I'm going to have to clip all of those little bits off to get your wire clippers and just snip all of those little bits off, so you're just left with the solder blobs on there. I just want to add that I've got the crappiest soldering iron you could probably buy, because when I started doing this I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make one pedal, or I don't know if I'm going to make 10 pedals, but I'm not going to buy a good soldering iron just in case I give it up after one pedal, which I nearly did. I honestly nearly gave up doing this because it was I found it so difficult and fiddly. But once I'd made one and it was successful, you get the bug for it and you start making more. Now anyway, the next bit of this project you want to do is get the resistors in. Get the smallest stuff in first, so that the capacitors stick up a bit. These don't, these goes flat in, so all the small bits, those, the IC sockets, Your ICs can go in last. Keep them on this little mount because you don't want the legs breaking, you don't want to lose them, so just keep them on that mount and that'll be all good. So you don't need that for now. So all you need to put in is these resistors, the film capacitor, the diode, and these. And I'm going to put in where it says CLR that I've got a 4.7k resistor, and that's just for the LED, so the LED don't blow. But with this circuit, it's been built into the circuit. They're not often built into the circuits, but I think it's really good that it has, because it just saves you messing about with a resistor attached to a lot of wires later. Okay, so I've got all the resistors in. I've got the 4.2 nanofarad film capacitor in, and I've got the two IC sockets in, so you can just place the ICs on there. Now with the IC sockets on this diagram, they've got to be this way, so there's a little half moon sort of image, you can just see it at the top, so that means they have to go in that way, and then that corresponds with the ICs. They've got a little bump, sometimes they have a bump on them, these have got little half moon bumps on them, so they just have to go in the same way as you put the sockets. And then with these capacitors, these capacitors, they have to be the correct way around. So you see the negative is there, or often, well, all the time, the negative is the shortest leg and the positive is the longest leg, and the negative always has like a strip up it. These ones are black and gold, so they've got like a negative there. So, and when you look at the diagram, you can just see the negatives like a little different color at the top or the bottom. So all of the 100k, the 10k, the 1U, and the 1U, they're all, the negatives all pointing to the top, and the bottom 10U, the negatives point to the bottom. So I'm going to get those in now. I'm going to put the ICs in, and then I'm going to start wiring. Okay, so I just wanted to explain something about the wiring. So what we're going to do, we're going to add 9 volts in, ground, and then jack input, your input jack, and then volume 1 and 2, these two white ones, and then on volume, so volume 1, volume 3, and then volume 2 is going to be your output. And then they will then, I've got one of these test boxes, again, I'll hook that up to there, so these 4 things will go to these 4 things, and that will go to that pot there. Right, I'm going to wire it up and test it. Okay, so as you can see, I've got all the wiring done, and I've got it attached to my test box. So I've got the input here, 9 volt, ground, output. The output's going to the second pin of this volume pot. The first pin of the volume pot is going to next to the 9 volt there, and that one is the main out, going to pin 3 of the volume. So at the moment the volume's turned right down. I've got a clean signal here. You can't really hear it very well, but you'll hear it in a sec. I'm going to activate the effect and then turn the volume up. There, you can hear it.